Be not afraid, mortals. Your angel of mercy and moonlight is at your service. Welcome to my first developer log on the TTRPG that I'm working on, which will be dubbed Project VTuber until I get it closer to being published. So let's start with a bit of history, shall we? You ever get hyped for something, then when you get it, you're instantly disappointed? And you think to yourself that, hey, I could do this better than an entire team could, with only half the brain cells. Yeah, yeah, that was my thought on the matter. It was D&D 4th edition, and I was just so utterly disappointed in the direction they took with it. It felt like they were destroying DM creativity and any chance to have meaningful characters for players. It was a pale copy of their former glory. That's when I decided to work on my own system. At the time, it started off as a D20 clone, with only a few mechanical changes and my own spin on things. Obviously, this wasn't the best choice, but it's what I started with. It wasn't until later that I decided to move in a different direction, namely because of all the D20 offshoots coming out. Hanger. That's when I started to take a hard look in the direction of other tabletop games. Most games used either D20 themselves or combinations of a lot of dice, building a large pool to roll. I wanted something easier but mechanically unique, which is why I decided to go with a 2d10 system. 1d10, which was called the action die, was for rolling so you can add your attributes and skills to in order to pass difficulty tests, while the other die was used specifically to determine critical success and failure, and we called it the crit die. Mechanically, you would get a difficulty check in which you would pick your attribute and skill combination in order to perform the check. If the combination beat the difficulty without the roll, you would auto succeed. That makes sense, right? If you roll and the total is equal to or above the target, you would succeed. If, of course, adding the roll, you roll less than the target, you would fail. Now, the crit die added something special to the mix. If you roll a 10 on the die and succeed, you would have a critical success, which would allow you either something narratively good to happen, or if it was attack that you were making, would get you a chance to kill, or CTK as we called it. That's when you'd roll both dice as a D100. And if you succeeded in rolling lower than your CTK value, you would automatically slay the target, no matter how much HP they had left. Now, in conjunction with this, there were other things that could happen. If you missed the target but rolled a 10 on the crit dice, it was a lucky success, meaning something narratively good would happen despite failing the roll. Meanwhile, if you succeeded but rolled a 1, you would fail due to something bad happening. Of course, there was a chance for a critical fail. This would be missing the target number and rolling a 1 on the die. Let's just say very bad things would happen to those unlucky enough to roll a critical fail. This setup worked really well for the system I was trying to develop. It offered some really interesting mechanics and something that both players and storytellers had something to look forward to in the narrative that was their game. I remember fondly a game that I played with my wife using this system. You enter the basement of the old manor. Cobwebs fill that large room in its corners, and you feel the chill of necromantic laced mana in your bones. As you step forward, something seems to stir awake. From the center of the room, a large platform rises, bringing with it an amalgamation of dead flesh over metal parts, sewn and bolted on a deadly frame with 8 legs and steel claws that are nearly as large as swords. It provides no reaction, malice, or hatred when it sees you, but quickly acts to do its ordained job of slaughter. You have the initiative, so what would you like to do? Um, um, I'm going to cast Jingus. Uh, oh, okay. That's a kill spell, which means if you succeed in the target roll, you automatically get an attempt to CTK. But that'll consume all your actions for your turn, and if You miss. You deal no damage aside from forcing it back a few feet. No problem. Okay, so I have 19. I also rolled a 10 on my crit. So what does that mean if I succeed on my target roll but crit? I take 2 CTK attempts or so you point your wand and strike out with your spell. Although it doesn't have a heart, the internal mana battery is struck, causing a cascade of liquid mana to burst from necromantic flames, consuming and instantly decaying the creature, rusting the metals used in its creation as if years passed in mere seconds. That that was the final boss creature, wasn't it? Yes, god damn it. I didn't expect you to perform an instant kill. Needless to say, we had a lot of good test sessions using the 2D10 system, and it's why I'll be keeping it. Although, to be fair, not everything in the second draft of the system was something that I was going to keep or enjoy. Originally, there was a total of 9 different attributes, 3 groups of 3 that was separated into body, mind, and character. Body attributes had strength, agility, and vigor. Mind attributes had intellect, wisdom, and will, while character got personality, speech, and appearance. Although at the time, I was happy with those. I've kind of stepped back from that now, but I'll explain what the new ones are going to be in a later developer video. After spending some time with the newer systems, I fell out of using my own system, navigating to more narratively rich systems like Genesis RPG, which had its own dice system with positive and negative outcomes that influence the story. If you may remember my older videos, I still championed that system for a long time. I still do think it's a worthwhile system as well, but it seems to be pretty dead in the water. And I don't want to continue with something that will eventually fade. Here lately, I was on a 2D20 system kick, enjoying some of the more narrative focus of that system from Modiphius, specifically Star Trek Adventures 2. But I ran into some problems with that system. Not so much the system itself, but being able to make content with it, which I won't get into that. So, what did actually convince me to come back home to the system I was building? Quite simply, I wanted to be able to make video content using a TTRPG system. And it seemed the only feasible way to do that was to actually finish what I started. Only one teeny tiny problem with that. You see, when I switched to Genesis and narrative focused games, there was a reason. I went through a depression a couple years back. I didn't think my system had what it took to be good. That the system, along with myself, was nothing more than doomed to failure. So, in an emotional outburst against my own self, I deleted the system. And throughout the hundreds of pages I had wrote, by hand, mind you, it wasn't my proudest moment. But in a way, I'm kind of glad I did. Knowing what I know now and what direction I want to go, I have a path forward. I have the base mechanics and the ideas flowing pretty well now. As a matter of fact, I already have the character creation done and over with. But I think I'll keep that close to my chest for now. So during the writing process, I'll be doing 2 things. First one, I'll be dropping these developer logs as I go, giving you a look at what is going into the process and to take in some feedback. Second, I'll be running a solo RPG series done in a monodramatic style like Cafe Latte or Hell's Bells. Of course, this starring my oldest RP character, Yawaraka and Carmen. Yes, my VTuber persona is literally a character I've been RPing with for over 28 years. And still RPing with, if you can believe that. Now, full disclosure, later on, I might be able to hire some voice actors to portray other characters in the series. However, I'm a broke bitch. That isn't happening anytime soon. I mean, look at my model. I mean, I need to update her before anything else. Anyways, in the next devlog, we'll be starting properly with the base mechanics of the new 2D10 system. How it'll work and some definitions for you to learn that'll be in the final product. With all that being said, thank you for joining me on this project, and hopefully we'll see you all at the end of it. Stay virtuous, my mortals, and I'll see you next time. Bye!